Hey, what is going on, guys? This is SMAB Reviews, and today we are taking a look at the first album from Lilac Kings titled Goodnight. Let's get to it. A while back, I did do an interview with this band, and so, yes, quite obviously, I do actually know the guys that are in this band, but by no means am I allowing that to interfere with the review that I'm doing here. I actually hate reviewing artists that I do know personally because it would make things awkward if I didn't like it, but I actually really like this album, and yes, that totally spoils the rest of the review, but I think that this album is incredible, and it really does deserve a lot of attention. Lilac Kings is a post-hardcore band. They take a lot of influences from bands like Dance Gavin Dance, and they are incredibly talented in their own right. Each member has a lot of talent. I did actually write a review over this album, and one comparison that I did make in this review is for the lead singer, Dylan McBride. I compared his voice to Mariah Carey, which, yes, is a very strange comparison for multiple reasons, but I compared it because Dylan has a very interesting voice with some really nice range. He can do quite a lot with his voice, and yes, while it doesn't actually match Mariah Carey's, it is impressive, and I constantly am impressed with the fact that he can hit those notes. We then have the rest of the band, and each one of them are incredibly talented at their instruments. Mate Lucas is the bassist for the band, and he has some really excellent bass works that really does stand out in this album. Then we have the brothers Skylar and Cameron Wilkerson, and both of them are also incredibly talented at their instrument. I feel like both of them help create this awesome environment that is synonymous with Lilac Kings and their music. Because, as Lilac Kings says, they make intensely soft music, and it really is true. Now, the band did release an EP back late 2017, and it was really good, and I absolutely enjoyed it. I didn't catch on to them whenever it came out, so I wasn't able to do like a formal review of it, but I absolutely do love that EP. It's one of my favorite EPs of all time. But in the most respectful way, Goodnight is a complete step up. And that's not to say that the EP was bad, but this album really refines their sound and really adds a lot of interesting textures and tones into their style. I absolutely love every song on this album, except for one which I'll discuss later, but ultimately each one of these songs provides something different. And I feel like this is so obvious even from the opening track, Where We Are, which opens with a Carl Sagan quote, a famous astronomer, and it opens with him telling about the vastness of space and how everything happens on our small planet. All of our typical interactions are all in one very small place, despite the universe being huge. And then we bleed that into our narrator singing about a more intimate relationship. And I think that juxtaposition between the vastness of space and a very personal, intimate relationship really does work excellently. And it's obvious from that opening track that this album is something different, and it's very well thought out. The lyrics in this album are absolutely incredible. I like to point to Swallowed Whole, one of my favorite lyrical tracks at least, off of this album, as it deals with someone who his girlfriend had cheated on him, and now he has a desire to kill the person that she cheated on him with. And that inner conflict, because he knows that if he ever does this, he will never see that girl again, the person that he obviously cares about so much. But yet he keeps tempting with that idea of going and killing the paramour that allowed his girlfriend or wife to cheat on him. And I think that this song really stands out, as I said, as a lyrical highlight, because it is very good, and the lyrics and the music really show that tension there. I think it's awesome. And I know that this review will be very positive, but the band absolutely deserves it. I think another highlight is in Don't Pretend. Again, an excellent lyrical song and just an excellent melodic song. It was the lead single off of this album, and it's absolutely incredible as McBride sings about the hypocrisy and how many people will kind of pretend that they have some form of mental illness, anxiety, or depression, just for attention, for just saying it, for the aesthetic of it. And I think that that's a really interesting thing to turn his focus onto because, and obviously, 13 Reasons Why is not the reason that this is a problem, but 13 Reasons Why is an excellent example of this bigger problem, as the show kind of romanticizes the ideal of suicide and mental illness. And that is not right. There are people that are actually struggling with these things. And that's exactly what the band focuses on in this song. I'm so sick of pain and suffering being a fashion statement, McBride sings, and I think that that line is one of the strongest lines in the entire album because it's such a politically charged line without ever really delving into politics, and I think that that's awesome. I love this line. And this song is, again, another highlight off of the album. Alright, I know I'm falling at the knees of this album, so allow me to talk about the one track that maybe didn't quite connect with me, and that's Imagine Life Without Color. It does feature the lead singer from Woven in Hiatus, and there's nothing inherently wrong with this track because despite this being my least favorite song on the album, it doesn't mean it's bad by any means. It just doesn't stand out to me as much. A lot of these songs have a thing that really stands out to me and makes them different and unique from the rest of Lilac King's songs, either in this album or in their discography as a whole. But this song just doesn't quite do that for me. Yes, it does have the feature, so I guess that's something different, but it just doesn't really stand out. It's not a bad song, it just doesn't have any wow factor that makes this memorable. And despite it being the second single that came off this album, it's one of the only ones that I don't have stuck in my head and that I can't really remember upon numerous listens. And while I won't talk about every single song in this album, let me do a real quick gauntlet-style review of a couple of the songs. Drive Me Home is one of the most catchy and has such a strong hook. It has this bouncing bass line with mini guitar solos that I absolutely love, one of the most catchy off the album. We have Atrophy, a great song that has some soft piano sounds, which is different and definitely does stand out in context to the album, and I do see this being a fan favorite. It just seems like one of those tracks that fans will really latch on to. And then we end with Goodnight, the title track obviously, and it is such a good song. It shows the band in a more subdued form, at least in the first half of the song, and it's a really good look for them. Yes, they've had some softer, more subdued sounds before, but this is their most soft and consistently so, at least this far in their discography. And it's a really good sound for them. And while they do the high octane sound very well, it really does work in this song, and I absolutely love Goodnight. Lilac Kings may be a small band, but they absolutely deserve your attention. Please do go check them out because this is an incredible album, and I am very impressed. Plus, I didn't even mention the production, which is incredible on this album. It really does work, and though I'm sure the band did have a fairly limited budget as they are smaller, it sounds very well produced. It's a great album, and I absolutely do love this album. And I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I know, that's high praise, and I've given this album a lot of praise, but I do mean it. It's worth you checking out. If you did hear it, what did you think of it? Please let me know down below. Besides that, I will try to remember to link my interview with the band because they are a bunch of awesome guys that really do care about their art and their music. And while, like I said, their personalities did not influence how I felt about this album, they are really awesome people that do deserve your attention. So, thank you guys so incredibly much for watching this video. It really does mean a lot to me, and I'll see you guys later.